So, I'm trying to get this lighting done. Oh my goodness. Anyways. Oh, there we go. That's decent lighting. I wanted to make this video. Yeah, that light just keeps. I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to make this video real quick and talk about a couple things that came to my attention, which I kind of knew, but I never really thought about it. You know what I mean? Like, you know how when you hear something out loud and you're like, wait a minute, it actually kind of makes a lot of sense, you know? So, anyway, what I want to talk about is car financing. So, most Americans nowadays, we pretty much have to finance cars because cars are too expensive. And it's that way on purpose. I know, we already knew that part, but it's done that way on purpose. What is not the part that we did know is when you go and finance a car. Now, depending on how savvy you are, like when I finance a car, at least going forward, I will finance max 4 years. That's gonna be my max. I don't care what the payment is. If I ever finance a car in America again, max 4 years. 48 months, I believe it is. 4 years. So when you go and finance a car, especially new cars, in your personal name, when you go and finance a new car in your personal name, what happens is the minute you drive off the lot, the car depreciates. Why is that? Right? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Why is that? And it's actually done on purpose. It's not because the market and blah blah blah, all this BS that they'll tell you. It's actually done on purpose. Because the actual car is actually overpriced already. So on the dealership lot, on a car lot, whatever, all those cars are overpriced. So a brand new car, it's already overpriced. Because what you're paying for is the taxes and a bunch of other stuff. So it's already overpriced. So let's say you finance a $50,000 car. You're most likely gonna finance, depending on what you put down, or if you don't put down, you're most likely gonna finance anywhere between 55 and 60K, easy. But even though it's a 50K car, the car may be actually worth 45 or a little bit less than 45. So you're already, depending on what you put down, you're already in the hole. And it's done that way on purpose. Okay. Now, when you go and finance a car, another thing that you may not know is that the dealer will give you a interest rate based off your credit. Even if you have 800 credit, the dealer is going to say, okay, we can get you. Obviously, I'm not going to use today's rates, but they're going to say, oh, we can get you 2%, right? You got 800 credit, we can get you 2%. What you don't know is that if you would have went to a bank, the bank would have gave you 1% or maybe 0.5, right? But the dealer is always going to tack on a little bit more, so that way they get a little bit more. You understand? For those who don't know the car world. And this is a gentleman that made this video, and he's very sensitive about people reposting his stuff, so I'm making my own version. Here I am. So that's part of it. That's part of it, right? So, you're already buried in, and it's done that way on purpose. They're screwing the consumer. It's done that way on purpose. So that way you are tied down. It is all about control. A lot of people are asking, what is the end game? Recession, blah, blah, blah. You hear everybody on TikTok, YouTube, all these social media platforms right now. Everyone's talking about, how, we're in really dire, dire part. The economy is just not doing great. And everyone's like, what's the end game? It's all about control, guys. Okay? It's all about keeping you deaded. That's why when you and everybody's in the same bed, by the way, except us. George Carlin said it best. Beat you over the head with the big, blue, red, white. I'm not gonna say what he said, but beat you over the head with that stick. Okay. That's why when you go and get a job, let's say you go apply for a tech job and they're gonna pay you 100K. That's why you asked all these questions. Do you have a house? Where do you live? Blah, blah, blah. All these things factor in to essentially playing the game. And it's the same thing when it comes to banks, because banks are the ones who are running everything. That's essentially what it comes down to. And they're going to be running even more because if we can't get there's no foreign investors buying American debt right now. Everybody's trying to crash the dollar. Okay. And the people who are going to buy American debt are going to be the Federal Reserve and privatized entities. And you know what they're going to want. More. Okay, that is what's happening right now. This is why you're feeling it in the grocery store. This is why utility bills are going up. This is why, because a lot of things are being privatized. But that's another story for another day. But when it comes to the car world, that's essentially what happens when you're buying a brand new car. And it's done that way on purpose. Okay? So they're milking you from the beginning. And so your payments, that's why your payments on a 50K car, could be anywhere between late 700s, 800s, 9 up to 1,000. Sometimes even more. Because sometimes they'll tack on a lot of things and then bury you in that car. And when you go to trade it in, you're thinking, oh, I haven't drove that much. I got it professionally, PPF, detailed, all that stuff, ceramic coating. You go to trade it in, and they tell you, hey, yeah, you still owe 10K. You still owe 10K. And so that's the reality of what a lot of people are going through right now. That's why I think a lot of people are starting to catch on to the game, though. And I think that's why a lot of people, for those who are still buying cars, you're dumb. What you should do is you should save up a good nest egg. I'm talking like maybe like 10K, right? And then you go to these repo places and these car lots, auctions and things. You could buy a car from there and then fix it up. And then boom, you own a car outright. Right? You can go get, like, that's what dealerships do. They typically go and get like fairly nice cars, no matter what brand it is. You'll pay a little bit more depending on the car, but you could buy a fairly nice car, fix it up, and then it's yours. You ain't financing. You ain't worry about it, because then the reality is there's also a finance charge, which goes on to your interest rates, which buries you more into your car. Okay? The reality is most people don't notice, but within the first 2.5, I say within the first like 2 years to 2.5 years, you pretty much pay your car off. But because of the finance charge, the taxes, the interest rate, blah, 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 they just tell you, oh yeah, you got to keep paying. You paid for this term, so this is the term. But the reality is the bank got their money within 2 years, sometimes even 2.5 years. And then you just keep paying them extra, basically. So yeah, This is the world we live in. The reality is we have to leave. You gotta leave the system.